What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Ramps. So today I'm going to show you some inlays, and we're going to get right to the point on this one here. I could do an inlay in another potential area, which I'll show you afterwards. When it comes to doing inlays, there isn't really a right or a wrong way. There is just usually nicer ways, and making everything symmetrical is very important on top of that. So a lot of you have questions about where to kind of put inlays. So this inlay I'm putting right here. I've already set it up with knifeless tape. I've got one in the recess, one across the top, and then one on the very end here, running it on hard body lines always, and always remembering which piece you laid down last is very important. So laying down that knifeless tape in a certain order so that you pull that last one first when you're going to use it. So I have finish line set up here. The door is open right now, which is fine. I'll work with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this end down here, and I'm going to draw the film across. So this is the problem area right here, if there were to be any. So I've masked this area off so that the vinyl will slide off and nice onto the knifeless tape. So I'm going to lay this section nice and flat. I can leave the backing paper on for the first little bit. And make sure that we're good end to end. Okay, we're going to be good. This is where we're going to add a touch of heat. Now, could I tuck it in there? Yeah, but I'm going to stretch it around slightly, adding a little bit of tension so that the vinyl actually holds itself against the panel, which that's what it'll do if I add tension and pulling across this way. So I want to start this slightly before the bend, and I don't want to add a lot of heat, we're just adding a bit. So we're going to take it, we're going to spread out the film and pull across. You're going to see how the vinyl wants to tuck itself in there, just like that. It slid off of the tape. So that's actually going to be wanting to pull itself towards the knifeless tape. So let's get the rest of this out here. So the car that I'm doing this on right now is a Lamborghini Urus. So again, if I heat right here, it all shrinks down right nice and tight along the knifeless tape. And what I don't want to do is stretch the very end of it, because we're only going to have a very minimal amount of film on the very end. So we don't want to be stretching past the end of the knifeless tape. It's going to get a little loud in here. I'm hoping that it'll just hold out for a second with the power washer. So again, we're not going to stretch past the knifeless tape. We're just going to lay it down nice and smooth across the knifeless tape. Good. So I'm going to shrink down the film over top of the knifeless tape, make sure everything is down nice and tight. Can you guys wait 5 minutes? 5 minutes? Thank you. So no noise, which is good. All right, so right here, this is our focus. And again, I'm going to lift it off of the tape so that we know that the vinyl is pulling itself right on top of the knifeless. There we go. Once I lay the film down on top of the knifeless tape, we're about ready to pull it. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that we don't have any air bubbles in this area right here. And the reason why we're putting an inlay in this area right here is because if we bridge this gap and stretch it into here, what we're looking for is these hard creases in the body panels, which make it very likely that the vinyl will pop out. We're using Oracal in this case, so we're not going to slap in any primer, because you don't use primer with this particular brand. Not that you use primer with any particular brand. I don't like using primer. But even if you were to use primer in here, it wouldn't be a good situation. It's probably not going to hold it anyway, so primer will only do so much. So again, I'm going to shrink all this down, make sure we're nice and tight, nice and solid. And then I've marked off the piece that I have to pull first just by folding the end so I can see. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to snap my knifeless tape. I'll actually stand over here so you can see. I'll draw it right to the edge of the film, and we're going to give it a quick pull. That's going to cut through the film, and we're going to cut right across that body line, straight through and out to here. So as I get to the end, I'm going to hold the knifeless tape. Perfect. We're going to get that out. We have another piece that is still sitting there. We're going to get that one out as well. Excellent. Now, before doing anything, I'm just going to heat it and shrink it, make sure there's no pullback. If it's gonna pull back, it'll do that right now. Did not, we're good. So I'm gonna tuck this down into here a little bit. Now the next piece that I have to do is just over on this end. It's a very small piece. And I just want to draw the film slightly across, get it nice and tight around this piece right here. Perfect. So we're going to take this piece now. Cut it right through. Good. We're going to get rid of this. And then we're going to have one more piece, which is that long one across the top. So again, I'm going to go over it with the heat gun just to finish up all the edges and make sure that the film is holding nice and tight across that knifeless tape and that there's no air in between the film and the knifeless tape. So I'm going to start at this end because that end will be a little bit more finicky since it's going to be a much thinner piece at that end. You're going to see what I mean. So we're going to pull that real quick, come and follow through, and let's get rid of the knifeless tape. And we're going to be removing the top piece right here that doesn't look so pretty. We've got to be really careful here because you're going to see that that's a little bit finicky. So what I can do is I can start at this end instead and then run it out this way, which should cause less of a chance of it actually moving the film. And once I get towards the end here, I'm really going to take my time. So let's go slow here. And I've got that last piece that's still underneath the film right here. So I'm going to pull out more towards me so I don't move that really fine piece at the end. Perfect. So again, I'm just going to go over with heat. I'm not even going to touch it, and then I'll go over it with my finger afterwards. But we're making sure that there's no movement in the actual film before finally sealing the deal and locking it in. So I'll trim up the bottom right now, and then we'll talk about the rest of them that I've already finished. So I've done all of these on the front end, which has taken me quite a bit of time. Been here most of the day doing it. There's a little edge in here which is nice for the black plastic that you see that's all around. So I can actually tuck in that film really, really nicely and then run my blade right in between the black plastic trim and the actual paint itself. So we're going to go over that with heat because we're always going to seal it all up afterwards. We don't need a lot, we're just going to give it a touch. And that's it. So I'm going to remove my masking. The masking tape helps, like I said, to make sure that the film doesn't stick to any areas where I don't want it to stick. Now we can move the camera around the front. Okay, so now that we're at the front of the car, we can kind of see what I've done here already. So it's been a long, tedious process, especially without removing the bumper. It would help to remove the bumper. It's a Lamborghini front bumper, it's a bit more of a pain to take off than most other ones. We've left it on, and I've worked around it basically. It's not a big deal. So when we're looking at a vehicle's front end and we're kind of judging where the inlays are going to go, we have to think about where are we adding excessive tension to the film. Now, could there be more than one way or more than one place to put an inlay? Of course there is, usually. There can be different ways you can do inlays. So this one, I mean, I've done 3 down here for the prongs that run up. Could I have done maybe just the sides of each one and then had the flat part from the main piece going over top, sure, that would create a line here and a line here as opposed to one running around this way. That would be a different way to do it. As far as the side area goes over there, I could do an inlay, I suppose, on the flatter bottom side. I opted for the longer one on the top because it's actually more hidden from the eye, the fact that it's on the bottom, on the underside. So trying to put them on the underside of things is important. That helps a lot. The rest of these are basically just pieces, separate pieces. They're not even part of the bumper. But again, getting yourself set up where you can think, okay, if I put one piece of vinyl here, I'm gonna have to stretch all the way into here, all the way into here, and all the way into here. Is it gonna be even possible and be able to wrap all the way up to the top of these prongs that are here? On top of that, this white goes underneath quite far as well. So I'm actually going to be putting an inlay on the bottom here and then doing the upper one afterwards. I'll run the knifeless tape more on the bottom side. It's actually already there. So I have the knifeless tape already on the bottom side, and I've masked off anything that might get in my way, which would be the sides. Those will actually get in my way, and the vinyl will want to stick to it. So by masking it off, the vinyl will actually slide off that area a lot nicer, and I'll be able to tuck it right down to the edge with a lot less resistance or overstretching the film in that case at the end. Again, this front end has a lot of pieces and a lot of sections, but knowing where to do inlays is important because it definitely needs some, and most front bumpers do. When you look at your front bumper, just look at it and be like, okay, where can I put an inlay? And some of them might not be as obvious as these hard body lines, but we're always trying to utilize the hard body lines and the underside areas for the most part. This way, when I do a cut, I'll cut more on the top side here, and then this bottom piece will flap in, which is nice. So we won't actually see this seam down here if I was to put a seam here. We're not even going to see the one up here because it's actually on the underside. So when I cut at the top here, it's just going to flop in there really nicely and hide it really well. That's pretty much it, guys. So if you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more videos, don't forget the subscribe button. I will have some more videos and how-to videos, instructional stuff coming up. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.